probably the biggest source of grace in my adult life, like with kids and stuff, where things just really aren't as simple as they used to be, as far as living out the faith and being able to participate in sisterhood. But it has been just this source of healing and life and grace for me, and for them too, I really believe. And so we were going there this year, and the theme, we use this little book. It's like a meditation book on the 7 Sorrows of Mary. And the one that that we were like working, like on this retreat, we'll do like prayer and share, and we'll do we have these like special teacups to do twinkle, like the twinkle tea party thing, which is really funny. But with things like that, we'll do those, and we'll also do like kind of a reflection for the theme for the weekend. And when we were driving there, I got the call from the clinical psychologist that my oldest daughter, Ava, she's 3, that she's on the autism spectrum. And like, that was like the call, like giving me the diagnosis when we were driving to retreat this year. And then the theme that I had chosen prior and that we were going to work with from this book was all about being able to live with mystery. And so that stands out as like a really huge thing in my life in the past year, or the past many years. So like, here's this really big thing, and it's definitely not the end of the world, and it's definitely more of a gift than it is anything else. But like, to receive that call and then to go into this weekend with these sisters who I've journeyed with through college and through adult life, and be able to be with them and process that, and process what a mystery it is in my life that God chose me for this, to be the parent of a little girl with autism, and to see that as for all the wonder and gift that it is, rather than for all the challenge and struggle it may be or is. That was just a really big thing in my year, and I think that it helped me pinpoint, like, why is it so hard to fight the good fight internally, and to live through the unmet expectations, or like that we kind of, I think that we have this idea of what our life is going to be like, and we don't know the specifics. But then when like certain things don't happen, or things go differently than we had thought, then it's really hard to live with that. Or like, friendships change, or friends grow apart, or people really do things to hurt each other, or bad things happen to us, or bad things happen around us. And there's just, I think we end up having to live with a lot of things that are just kind of like, I don't know why that happened, or I don't know why God did that or allowed that or whatever. And that the hardest thing about showing up to fight the good fight and be faithful to that is living in the mystery with grace and with graciousness, and with trust that it's good because God chose it, and not allowing it to be something that turns into like, God must not be good because this happened. Or these 10 things happened, or however many there are. And there's like I said, this book is about the 7 sorrows of Mary, and an entire sorrow of Mary. Basically, it's the loss of the child Jesus in the temple, and she calls it searching for our lost treasures. And it's a whole mystery basically dedicated to living with mystery, and that God chose that for Mary, who's our star of the sea, our guide, and our mother, that there's this entire huge, one of the biggest things in her life was the loss of the child Jesus in the temple. And basically through this reflection, I think kind of where it brought us is realizing that God wanted Mary to have to live with the question marks, and to not understand why certain things happen, not understand why Jesus would do that at 12 years old and act like it was no big deal or whatever. And so it goes through the narrative. Which is really cool. If you guys ever wanted this, I could totally send it. And then it kind of ends here. I want to share it with you guys. It was like, says, when they finally located Jesus, Mary didn't understand what it meant. She was left to live with the mystery of what had taken place. Her child was found, and she didn't comprehend why he had chosen to be hidden from her. She pondered this life experience, reflected on it, and turned it over in her heart again and again. Sometimes we cannot figure out either why we have lost some part of ourself that we've cherished, or have had to painstakingly recover. Even after we stand at the temple of our soul and say, oh, there you are, sometimes we still don't understand why our depression was so lengthy, why our spiritual energy waned into hopelessness, why our enthusiasm faded into lethargy. We may not know the answers for why things happened the way they did for many years, or perhaps we never fully understand the why. And so it goes on to say, like, she pondered, it says in scripture, she pondered things in her heart, she treasured things in her heart, and that we have to constantly give ourselves to divine peace, and begging that we receive this peace so that we can search with a heart of love and trust. And so I love this example of, I think this is how Mary showed up to fight the good fight. Like, she wasn't really in any battles or doing anything super crazy for a lot of her life, but she was treasuring the question marks in her heart and living that with graciousness, with beauty, with prayer and not projecting her frustration, her anger onto the world, and not, you know, yelling at her husband Joseph like just because she was frustrated at her own situation, or, you know, like all the things we do. So I think that just being able to live with mystery, and I've thought a lot about you guys and prayed about you guys in this situation right now, like just with this pandemic, like this is totally unprecedented for school to just have to be done, and whatever you guys had planned, you just had to go home, or maybe you're living on campus, or I don't know, but just everything stopped. And maybe you're a senior and this is your last semester, or maybe you were about to be inducted in a household. Like there's so many things that just like poof, like, you know, they're not there anymore and they're not happening. And I think that is a big mystery that you guys are probably currently wrestling with, of why did this happen to me, or why is this happening in the world when I'm at this point in my life. And so I think yeah, I thought about you guys a lot in that, and prayed for you guys, and just I wanted to share that thing about living with mystery, and because I think it's so pertinent, and also because I think it's hard to talk about what it means to actually be faithful to fighting the good fight. And I feel like in my life that has really put words to what it means to do that. And so then finally, if you're living out this covenant and what it means to live it out, I think we're going to be fully alive. Like our souls will be alive. Peter Kreeft has such a cool quote. He says, our culture has filled our heads but emptied our hearts, stuffed our wallets but starved our wonder. It has fed our thirst for facts but not for meaning or mystery. It produces nice people, not heroes. And I love that, because and then there was also this book I was reading with some of the people I work with, and it said this quote, it said this thing like, when did you stop singing? When did you stop dancing? When did you stop telling stories? And when did you stop listening to the silence? And so I think if we are living out this covenant, we're going to be alive. We're going to be singing and dancing and telling stories and listening to the silence. We're going to have wonder that's not starved. You know, our thirst for meaning and mystery is going to be quenched, and we're going to be heroes, not just nice people, you know. And so I think to live out this covenant means that you're going to be able to recognize that your soul's fully alive, or when it's not, that you're going to be able to jump back into action to make sure that it is. And I think this is again a big time to make sure our souls are alive while we're all stuck in the house and like wanting to scroll all day long. I know that I do, or it's just like the easiest place to be is just looking at things, not really doing anything that means anything. And so I think, yeah, that final one of just that our souls are going to be fully alive, and regardless of the circumstances that we face, or the question marks in our lives, the things unresolved, or our expectations that are unmet, or the things that we want to happen that are taking years longer than we thought that they would, regardless of the hurt that we encounter, the sorrow. I think being able to live in that tension between joy and sorrow, and recognizing like the deeper our capacity for suffering and sorrow, the deeper our capacity for joy, and to be able to live gracefully in that tension, I think is really what it means to be fully alive. So set apart, faithful to fighting the good fight, and fully alive. I think that that's what it means to live out this covenant to Jesus and Mary. And then we obviously have our more practical things that are listed in there too, that are really good, just like markers. So my challenge for you guys going forth from here, like for this next week until your next little Zoom talk thing on Sunday, my challenge is to go to God and just ask, you know, these three things, like, am I set apart because I'm living this covenant fully? Am I faithful to fighting the good fight in these different ways? Am I able to live graciously with the mystery in my life, and is my soul fully alive? And maybe just to simplify it, going to God and asking, like, am I singing? Am I still dancing? Am I still telling stories? And am I still listening to the silence? Like, are you alive in me through these things? I think that's my challenge to you guys, to just ask those questions and kind of see what God has in that for this week until the next time you guys are gathered here. So that's all I got.